Grab your mouse ears and your favorite bag because we're rope dropping Disneyland. Hey, howdy, hey everybody, I'm David and this is our family's small shop, Mickey and Mandy. We're Disney adults that create custom bags, screen printed shirts, and handmade home decor inspired by everybody's favorite magical theme parks, and I welcome you back to another episode in our Disneyland series. And I'll be honest, this video went through quite a few different iterations when we were getting ready for it, because the initial draft is that this was going to be my day at Disneyland, kind of a play-by-play. But then it occurred to me, the goal for my day at Disneyland was arguably one of the more fun parts about my day at Disneyland. And it was my rope dropping goal. So my day at Disneyland is actually going to be two parts. Part one is going to be today with our rope drop strategy, and then part two will be everything after my rope drop goal. And my rope drop goal for Disneyland was to get a little bit of breakfast, but also knock out my 4 big must-do attractions all before lunch. So let's not waste any more time here. Let's pull on that yellow strap and get going. All right, so again, the rope drop goals, we were gonna grab some breakfast, and I had 4 big must-do attractions that I wanted to do all before lunch, and these are going to be the more popular attractions at Disneyland. So let's break down what those 4 attractions were. It was going to be Space Mountain, Matterhorn Bobsleds, Big Thunder Mountain, and the Indiana Jones Adventure. I know there are probably 2 attractions that should be on that must-do list for rope drop that aren't on it for this visit. Let me explain why. Rise of the Resistance is not on my rope drop must-do list because we've got Rise of the Resistance at home. We've got it at Disney World, we've got it at Hollywood Studios, and it's the same attraction, so I didn't think it was necessarily worth doing again. And typically, Tiana's Bayou Adventure would be on this must-do list. And I think you'll see at the end of the video that I could probably still squeeze in Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but the reason that wasn't on my must-do list for this trip was because it wasn't open yet. It was still Splash Mountain being transitioned into Tiana's Bayou Adventure. But the reason why Space and Big Thunder were going to be on my must-do list is because although we have versions of those attractions at Disney World, I kind of think they're better. There's something about those attractions at Disneyland that I just think are better. I think the effects are better on actually both Big Thunder and Space Mountain. I also just like, it feels like the Space Mountain in Disneyland is faster. I like the vehicles a lot more. It rides a little bit smoother, it feels like. And then with Indiana Jones, although we are getting an Indiana Jones adventure at Animal Kingdom, at the time of this trip, Animal Kingdom didn't have an Indiana Jones ride. We still had Dinosaur, and also just the Indiana Jones adventure is just so much fun. But we'll get more into the reviews of the specific attractions later. So rope drop goal again is breakfast, the big 4 attractions, Space, Matterhorn, Big Thunder, and the Indiana Jones adventure. So I'm gonna kind of break down rope dropping here with specific times, how long I waited. Let's get into it. Okay, so for rope dropping itself, I was dropped off at the Pixar Place Hotel at the Disneyland Resort at 7 a.m. It's actually super funny. My wife, huge trooper, mad shout out, she actually drove me from Huntington Beach to the Disneyland Resort so that way I could rope drop. So she dropped me off at the Pixar Place Hotel. And I kind of explored the hotel a little bit, went to the gift shop, took a look at the lobby, got to see the skylight with all the glass mosaics of these iconic Pixar characters in kind of this abstract format. I didn't really go super far into the hotel itself because I wasn't staying there. I was just kind of exploring. But at about 7:30, I made my way to downtown Disney security. This was kind of the other reason I was looking forward to getting to Disneyland early, was because about a week before my trip, I was seeing all of these videos all over TikTok about how Disney just changed the security for Disneyland, and people were waiting like hours on end to get in. And I was like, that's absolutely insane. Like, no way you actually wait that long, but I wasn't willing to risk it. So about 7:30, I got to the downtown Disneyland security, maybe waited like 10 minutes. And to me, this actually left this really weird feeling for me because I've never actually done a solo Disney day. I'm normally at a Disney park with either a group of friends or with my family, and it was just the whole thing was weird going through Disney security solo without having somebody waiting for me on the other side. But nice leisurely stroll through downtown Disney. Was in the park by 7:45 with Disneyland opening up at 8 a.m. And guys, I gotta tell you, Disneyland was packed at rope drop. It was jumping. And I was part of the crowd that was going from Frontierland into the rest of the park. So from Frontierland, you can kind of go to certain parts of New Orleans Square, obviously the rest of Frontierland, but then also that's going to be the gate that you entered and most likely rope drop Galaxy's Edge. But not me though. Which brings us to stop number 1. Stop number 1 was the breakfast chimichanga at Ship to Shore Market. Park opened at 8. I was in line at Ship to Shore Market by 8:02. While I was at Ship to Shore Market, I did wait a few minutes because they didn't quite have the breakfast chimichangas ready yet, but cast members were super cool. Everybody that I was waiting in line with were super nice, really patient with everybody. Everyone got their breakfast chimichangas. Everyone got their Mickey Mochas. We were all ready to start the day. And what was really funny about this, I've talked about it in other Disneyland videos before in this series, that while I'm waiting in line for my breakfast chimichanga, I am watching actual hordes of people completely bypass everything else in Frontierland to go straight to Galaxy's Edge. I'm assuming to rope drop Rise of the Resistance, which I get, but like, guys, you gotta eat something. But yeah, I got my breakfast chimichanga, my Mickey Mocha. I found a nice standing table so that way I can kind of record my little review of it. I had my breakfast by 8:11 a.m. And it was a beautiful morning, a little bit of overcast, so it wasn't too warm. Got the people watch a little bit, really enjoy my breakfast. And if you want my full review of the Disneyland breakfast chimichanga at Ship to Shore Market, I'll link it at the end of this video, but you're going to want to check out the Disneyland dining review for that info. And after breakfast, that brings us to stop number 2, which was Space Mountain, or as they were calling it in Disneyland at the time of my trip, Hyperspace Mountain. It's Star Wars overlay. So after breakfast, I walked through the hub, marveled at the castle just a little bit. It's the Disneyland castle. It's iconic. It is. And I'm a Disney Worlder, so I don't really get to go to Disneyland all that often. So it was just nice to get to sit and stare at it for a little while. But made my way across the hub into Tomorrowland. And I gotta say, Tomorrowland and Disneyland is such a foreign concept for me. Everything about the layout about Tomorrowland completely throws me off. Like, what do you mean that A, you have Star Tours, or B, that Buzz Lightyear and the Astro Orbiter are right there in front? That makes no sense. What makes even less sense is the absence of a people mover. There's nothing moving over my head, and it's weird. Space Mountain being in a back corner, I get. The Autopia kind of being tucked off to the side also makes a little bit of sense. But everything at the front, I don't get it. But in any event, I was in line for Hyperspace Mountain by 8:25 and probably waited all of about 20 minutes, which got me on the ride by about 8:45. And I gotta say, I love Hyperspace Mountain. I don't know if that's a Disney Parks hot take, but I absolutely loved it. I would not be mad at all if that was something that the Magic Kingdom and Disney World ever decided to do with Space Mountain. Because I loved all the projections of the Star Destroyers and X-Wings and TIE Fighters flying everywhere. There's one specific effect that will always stick out in my brain because it is so simple, but it's as the rocket is going across, there's a screen about here. And on the screen, a TIE fighter comes down and flies towards the camera. And on either side, so screens here, rockets coming here, there's blasters on either side that are shooting towards either side of the rocket. So the effect looks like the TIE fighter is shooting at your rocket, which, like an open air space battle Star Wars attraction, is also just absolutely insane. But it was so much fun. It was so chaotic, and it had the Star Wars music. If you find yourself at Disneyland during the Hyperspace Mountain overlay, cannot recommend it enough. And then that brings us to stop number 3 over at Matterhorn Bobsleds. An absolute Disneyland thrill ride must-do attraction if there ever was one. I was in line for Matterhorn Bobsleds by 8:55, and I probably would have waited longer, but I'll never forget this cast member. Mad shout out to them because they had me pegged. They saw that I was by myself and they're like, "Are you a single rider?" I'm like, I am a single rider. Like, all bashful about it and kind of feeling a little bummed that I wasn't there with my family. They're like, "Don't worry about it. We have a single rider line. You're more than welcome to it." I'm like, thanks. So I ended up only waiting for Matterhorn Bobsleds for about 5 minutes. And that's more because if you're unfamiliar with how the single rider line works at a Disney park, it in theory, should get you on an attraction faster. But if, let's say that there's a ride vehicle with 4 spaces, and a family of 3 takes up that particular ride vehicle, that means there's 1 extra space. So they pull someone from the single rider line, and they go in that single spot. Done. Now, I will say it was great for somebody like me who is at Disneyland by themselves. If you do want to do this with a group, you are more than welcome to do so. I'll talk about this more in my Disney California Adventure play-by-play, but you will be separated from your group. But for me personally, it was no skin off my nose, because by myself. So yeah, getting in line at 8:55, waiting of all 5 minutes, I was on Matterhorn by 9 a.m. And I said it before, but for me, Matterhorn Bobsleds is a non-negotiable must-do Disneyland attraction. I will do this attraction for as long as I possibly can whenever I go to Disneyland. Even if I end up with lower back issues, I will do this attraction. And also, as a Disney Worlder, it's just nice to be on a mountain attraction with the Yeti that actually works. But it's such a classic, like the Matterhorn Mountain always being in the same shot as the Disneyland Castle. It's such an iconic skyline of that park. Also, anybody else who grew up in the 90s that might remember the Disneyland Fun Sing-Along song VHS, Matterhorn Bobsleds was a very prominent part in one of those numbers and was in all of like these wide shots of the park. So that was also a very big part of my upbringing, was wanting to go on that coaster for as long as I could remember. Just classic thrills, working Yeti, awesome cast members working that attraction. But away from the world of fantasy and onto the world of yesterday, and stop number 4, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. For Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, I was in line for that attraction by 9:10, and I was on the attraction by 9:20, only waited about 10 minutes. And this was kind of another one where they have 2 different loading docks, so they were kind of calling out for single riders for certain parts, and raised my hand and they got me right up to the front. No big deal. And yeah, this is another Disney mountain that I think I like it more at Disneyland than I do at Disney World. And I think a big part of that is the actual goat, but I also love the effects going up that last hill, all the dynamite fuses going up the rocks and then it exploding right there before you go over. It's such a simple effect, but I think it adds so much to just the chaos of a mining company in the Old West. It's the beginning of a great finale to that attraction. And that brings us to the final stop in our must-do attractions. That's stop number 5. That's the Indiana Jones Adventure. For Indy, I was in line by 9:30, and this one I waited about 20 minutes for. So I was on the ride by about 9:50. And guys, this is as much fun as I remember. I love the Indiana Jones Adventure at Disneyland, and going on this one has me all the more excited for Animal Kingdom to get their very own someday. I know they're actively working on it, but I'm so excited. Because it's such great storytelling and world building and building up to you getting in the ride vehicle. I think the only other 2 attractions that do this good a job of classic Disney Imagineering and storytelling and world building before you get into the vehicle, I would say, are Tower of Terror and Expedition Everest. There's so many details with all the different excavation projects and the languages carved into the walls and the different booby traps that they've kind of looked into already, and obviously the not pulling the rope. So much fun. And that's one of those where it's, with Indiana Jones, I feel like it can sometimes get a bad rep, at least from what I've heard from some folks that frequent Disneyland more often than me, because it does break down relatively often and it can be closed for refurbishments for a while, but it is so worth it when you get onto that attraction. Classic Indiana Jones Adventure, and I'm very excited for an original Indiana Jones story and adventure with the same bones of the dinosaur attraction. I guess sort of a pun intended, to come to Animal Kingdom. All right, and before we go too much further forward here, because at this point, I have technically succeeded in my rope drop strategy. You may remember, it was get breakfast and do my big 4 attractions: Hyperspace Mountain, Matterhorn Bobsleds, Big Thunder Mountain, and the Indiana Jones Adventure. And by about 10 a.m., I was able to accomplish that. Got my big 4 in and breakfast all before lunch. And at this point, these were, I would say, the 3 things that I learned from rope dropping Disneyland by myself. First, Disneyland is heckin' small. Like, it didn't really seem like that large of a feat to be able to make it from point A to point B when I get off Big Thunder at, I don't know, we'll say 9:25, and then I was in line for Indy by 9:30. Everything's just so close together. But the other thing that I learned is that the wait times that they post are longer than what you are actually waiting. And I'm sure part of that also had to do with the fact that I was by myself, so it did happen a couple of times where people would say single rider, anybody single rider, and I got to come up to the front. But in general, like even for something like Indiana Jones, like they weren't calling for single riders until I got to the very end of the line. So they had that, I think, posted for like a 40-minute wait. And again, I think I only waited, what was it, 20 minutes? So they're posting longer wait times than what you're actually waiting. Also, solo Disney trips kinda slap. I do not mind a solo Disney trip. And don't get me wrong, I love my family very much. It's the family that runs the Mickey and Mandy business. Like, we're in this together, ride or die, but solo Disney days are kind of awesome. But just a little bit more to wrap up the rope drop strategy video. Before I finish this up here, I do want to ask, if you haven't already, make sure you check out our family small shop, Mickey and Mandy. My mom makes handmade customizable bags like this framed rabbit retro vinyl sling bag. This was actually the bag that I wore during my days at Disneyland during this series. Absolutely love this bag. My sister and I get to design screen printed shirts inspired by our favorite parks and attractions, and me and my dad get to create handmade pieces of custom home decor like the ones you see behind me in our videos. And if you haven't already, be sure you like this video, and if you wouldn't mind, pretty please hitting that subscribe button. Not only do I have a current subscriber goal of 200 subscribers, but it is support like this, hitting that subscribe button and hitting that like button, that allow us to create videos like this, our thoughts on what we do in the Disney parks and what's happening in the Disney parks, but it also gives us the opportunity to show off how my mom and all of us create these handmade custom items that are available on mickeyandmandy.com. Just to show off another one here, this is kind of a Loungefly style backpack. Now on with the show. I'm getting my notebook back out again here because after I did my big four, I had a little bit of time before lunchtime because again, I got off of Indiana Jones probably by around 10. So not quite lunchtime yet. So I decided to head over to Fantasyland and I kind of hit up some other attractions. My first stop in Fantasyland was Peter Pan's Flight. Honestly, I just think it's better at Disneyland. No disrespect to the Disney World counterpart, but I love the effects in the Disneyland one. This was one that I waited about 30 minutes for. I also checked out Snow White's Enchanted Wish back in the day when I did this actually in Disneyland, and when this was an attraction that was still at Fantasyland in Disney World, it was Snow White's Scary Adventure. So this is a new iteration of the attraction, so I kind of wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And that was one kind of open and shut, only waited about 10 minutes. And then the other one that I checked out was Mr. Toad's Wild Ride because, duh, it's Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. The most chaotic Fantasyland attraction in the history of Disney parks, and I defy you to pick another one. In no other Disney attraction do you die and go to HE double hockey sticks. It's the only Disney attraction where you do that, where you die and then they just kind of put you out into Fantasyland and just enjoy the rest of your day, go on Small World, have fun. Like, that's bananas. Just a classic unhinged Disney dark ride. Only waited about 15 minutes for it. So keeping all that in mind, I was able to knock out 7 attractions by 11:30. And that wasn't even all that I did during my day at Disneyland. But after I was done in Fantasyland, I decided to head over to New Orleans Square where I got some lunch. First stop was Mint Julep Bar to get a classic mint julep, and then I went over to Tiana's Palace to get some of the house gumbo. And if you want more thoughts on that, again, I encourage you to check out our Disneyland dining review video. I'm going to link it at the end of this video, so that way you can check out all the awesome and delicious spots that I checked out during my day at Disneyland. And this is also just another friendly reminder, if you wouldn't mind hitting the ye old subscribe button. That way you don't miss out on part 2 of this video where we pick up right where we left off here, all the attractions that I did during my solo day at Disneyland after lunch. But, I mean, in short, to answer the original question, we did it. We were able to accomplish the initial rope drop goal. We were able to get breakfast, do Hyperspace Mountain, Matterhorn Bobsleds, Big Thunder Mountain, and Indiana Jones all before lunch. And honestly, I think the fact that I was able to knock out 3 additional attractions in Fantasyland well before an acceptable lunchtime, to me, I think proves that I could also squeeze in Tiana's Bayou Adventure there at the end. Honestly, if I had to do it over again, actually would probably still be a very similar strategy. Yeah, Hyperspace Mountain to Matterhorn, to Big Thunder, loop around to Indy, and then go do Tiana's Bayou Adventure, because then you can go get lunch at Tiana's Pals right afterwards, yeah. But still, completely doable all before lunch. You can knock out, if you're okay with not doing Rise of the Resistance, 5 pretty major attractions at Disneyland well before lunch. But before I let you go, if you wouldn't mind also following us over on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads, that way you don't miss out on our short form content. This is where we post about the sales that we're running, new product drops, and this is where we post all the information about our weekly ready to ship drops, where you can find dozens of handmade bags like this. And if you want your very own custom item, make sure you check out our family small shop. That is mickeyandmandy.com. But we thank you very much for hanging out with us and rope dropping Disneyland with us, and we will see you real soon.